Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to the Total Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Christiano Green, and I'm a mindset and relationship coach for both women and gay men. I'm super excited for this week's episode because we have a super special guest, Julie Schytte, mindset coach and mental trainer. How are you, Julie?
I'm good. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you here because we're going to be talking about emotional needs. And that's something that, of course, you've become quite an expert in recently. And I guess, through things that have been going on recently in your life, you've definitely had to, test them out within relationship, but also as yourself as a woman, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. And I have been working with them as well with clients for years. I actually often use them with my clients. And so always when working with clients, whenever I bring it up with clients, it just becomes very natural to look at them in my own life the same day that I talk to clients. So it's continually been working with it for a couple of years at least.
I kind of love that whenever we have a client who is going through something or we're talking to them, half the time, we go, actually, I think I need to take that in on board as well and do something about that myself, right?
Yeah. That's one of the cool things about coaching people.
It really is. Yeah. They become a reflection of where we're at in our life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So let's kind of start for people who let's just say people who are listening to this for the first time, don't really understand emotional needs or as a concept, as a tool. Give us a bit of a brief overview of what are emotional needs, both, I guess, as like I said, within a relationship, but for ourselves as well.
Mm-hmm. So just in general, emotional needs are what drives our behavior. And so there are 6 emotional needs, and the 4 of them are the basic ones, which I think makes sense that we mostly talk about the first 4 today. And the first one is called certainty, the need for certainty and safety and security, and what's going to happen and that kind of stuff. The second one is called uncertainty, which is the need for variation and excitement, and that you don't always know what's going to happen. Then we have the need for love and connection, which is both like a romantic love, but also the family love and the friendship love, and being in a community and belonging to a group of people and connecting with other people. And it can be animals as well, actually. And so the 4th need is the need for significance, to feel like you're special and that you're unique, and that you're not just a person in the crowd, you are something special. So that's like the really short overview of the 4 needs.
That's
and what I find really interesting is that the first 2 they're always sort of in conflict with each other. So the need for certainty and the need for uncertainty, you can never have them both at 100%. Because if you are 100% certain all of the time, well, then you cannot have variation. There isn't variation, there isn't excitement, there isn't surprises. And if you're 100% uncertain all of the time, then there's no security and no safety. And so we don't need any of them at 100%, but we have need for all of them. Does it make sense? So it's different how much we need it. Some people have a bigger need for certainty and someone has a bigger need for uncertainty. Me, for example, my need for certainty is not very big, but my need for uncertainty is really big. And this is both in our personal lives, in our relationship, in our job, in our hobbies. If it's got to be really good for you, it has to fill all of your needs.
Definitely. Yeah. It's one of those things that you have to say, look, it ticks this box, it ticks this box, it ticks this box, and this box.
Yeah.
Hard for people to realize, how do I find those things where I can tick those boxes and meet all my emotional needs as well, right?
Yeah. And also, I think that knowing your own emotional needs, you can actually help create that situation. So not only how do I find the perfect partner or the perfect job, but how can I help make sure that it remains the perfect thing for me, that it continues to fill all of my needs.
Exactly. And the thing is that people, what we also want to look at is that like we're talking about needs across all areas of our lives. So we're not just talking about the needs for ourselves in our day-to-day life, but within our relationship with our friends, with our family, with our significant other or people that we're dating, in our career, in our finances, in our health, right? So these needs are there for us like on an emotional level, but they're also kind of like a deeper core level because they are basically the 6 core human needs. Of course, we're talking about the first 4 here because they're kind of the main ones. But yeah, it's not just, like I said, for you to look at and go, oh, yep, I need to be certain, I need to be uncertain, I need to be significant, and I need to have love and connection, right?
Yeah, and I think, should we just mention the last 2?
Definitely. Let's talk about the other 2 because
okay.
it's an open loop for people.
Yeah. Are you excited? No. So the 5th one is the need for to contribute to something larger than yourself, and genuinely want to, and genuinely sort of need to contribute to something bigger than yourself, and something that helps the planet or other people or something like that.
Yeah.
And the 6th one went right out of my head, but I'm sure you got it.
Yes, it's the thing that I love most, growth.
Oh yeah, exactly, growth. It's such a natural part of my life. I just completely forgot. Yeah, growth. Yeah.
Yeah. The need to grow,
Growing as a human
grow.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Growing in
feel like
relationship.
you're doing more, being more, having more, like learning more. Yeah. Within yourself. But like I said, growing with someone else or other people in your life. So it's a continual like journey throughout life, not just physically, but more emotionally, spiritually, mentally as well, right?
Yeah. I think it's to feel like we're evolving.
To feel like we're evolving. That's basically a nice little summary of it right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
The journey of emotional needs, and I know like things have been going through quite some changes in your life recently. How has, I guess, this kind of impacted you both on a level of yourself personally, but in some of the other areas of your life going forward? Because yeah, like a lot of this stuff has risen to the surface quite recently for you, right, Julie?
Yeah, so I just got out of a relationship of 5 years with a man that I also now have a child with. And so one of the things that I guess you can say that made this relationship not perfect for me, how it didn't feel all of my emotional needs, and he did not feel my emotional needs. And I think the one that really sticks out that I didn't get filled is significance.
Yeah.
So again, with love and connection, you usually have one of them is usually a bigger need. And for me, it's significance. So I really need to feel special to my partner. And I need him to make me feel special as a person. And he just didn't do that. He just kind of forgot. And he has totally different needs than me, which is not necessarily a problem in a relationship at all, as long as you know each other's needs and want to help fill the other partner's needs. But he just forgot. I think it wasn't a priority for him. So one of the things I would have really loved, having a high need for significance, is him giving me a present, for example, that really shows that he knows me. So a lot of women like to get flowers, and I like to get flowers as well, but not if they are transported here from, I live in Denmark, right? So if they're transported here from Africa, which is a lot of flowers are, in a way that really harms the environment where they come from, and they're super cheap flowers, and so that doesn't do anything for me. But what he could really do is during the entire winter, give me seeds for flowers that I could sow myself and grow in my garden during the summer. That would be something that will fill my need for significance and also make me feel seen a lot, which is very important.
Yeah, okay. And so, I guess because me and Julie, just a bit of backstory, I've known Julie for quite a few years now. We met through the world of NLP. I was crewing at an event that Julie came to. I was taking care of her pod, and she was in this event. And in the background, we saw her partner, her ex-partner now there as well. And slowly over each day, he became more and more interested in the world of NLP. And then eventually he became into the world of NLP as well. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that quite a lot of people know who Julie is and her partner is, especially in this world that we're in. There's quite a lot of people who would have seen your relationship and probably looked outside of it and said, well, this is a perfect relationship. There's so much love, there's so much this. And, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is when I'm sharing this is that, other people might see that your relationship is perfect, that your needs are being met, but obviously no one else can define those needs but yourself. So maybe share with us a little bit about like the journey of like how does that come out to you when you notice that like other people are seeing certain things and probably are dying for what would die to have the kind of relationship that you have, but deep down, of course, nothing's ever as it really seems, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, we're really good together in many ways and have been. And so obviously when we're just joking and having fun on camera, doing NLP and everything looks good, and on Facebook, everything looks good. And
yeah.
And it's not that we don't want to share, but it's just weird to make a post to say, hey, everybody, just to let you know, he didn't take me on a date again this month.
Yeah.
No dates again this month. Like that would be weird, right? And so I guess it's sort of the things that in the first part of the relationship, when you're in love and everything is magical, you don't really pay attention to these kinds of things. But then when you've been together for a while, some things just, for me, it just got a little bit boring, for example.
Yeah.
Because there was not enough variation and not enough, it wasn't special enough.
It was more the certainty was there. You knew what was going to happen, but as you said, one of your needs is uncertainty, variety, right? So that was not being met at all and really much within the relationship.
Yeah. And so I had 100% certainty in the relationship. I had 100% certainty for his love for me, which is really healthy. Like that's very healthy to have in a relationship. I had 100% certainty that he would not leave me, which is also healthy. I had 100% certainty that he would not cheat, which is also really healthy. But then I also had 100% certainty what we're going to do next week and next month. I had 100% certainty what kind of present I was going to get for my birthday. I had 100% certainty which kind of people we were going to hang out with and what we're going to do and all of that. So the basis is why we've been together for so long. Like 5 years is a long time for a relationship because we had a lot of healthy certainty, but then I needed some of the healthy uncertainty.
Definitely. And as you
Does
said,
that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Because you mentioned all of those things. And as you mentioned them, I was just thinking, yeah, that does sound quite boring. As you mentioned that the word boring a few minutes ago as well, right? Like just certainty, like I said, for someone else, that could have been perfect what they wanted, right? I'm certain in all of these things. But again, each person has their own needs that they need to meet emotionally, but also, again, what they're looking for out of a relationship, out of partner, and also out of life. So these things cross a line to different aspects of your life in different relationships. And sometimes you might be noticing, I guess, within another friendship that you're getting some of these needs met. And then when you get those needs met, you realize, far out, I'm actually not getting these at home as well where I really want them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel it's very like it's a good thing to mention that these needs drive our behavior, but not only positive behavior. If we don't get our needs met in a good way, in a positive way, we can do behavior that is destructive for us in the relationship just to get the needs met. So this is the reason why some people have affairs, because their emotional needs aren't met in their relationship. That doesn't necessarily mean they don't love their partner and want to be with their partner, but maybe they're bored out of their fucking minds. And also, a lot of women especially will create drama where there actually isn't any, but they will just create drama to have fights, because that's excitement, that's uncertainty, that's variation.
I feel like there's some passion there when there's a fight, right?
Yeah, and maybe there's some makeup sex and everything after, and so that's a way to fill the need as well. And I've never done that, and I never will, but I have been aware. And sometimes I've been like, if this never changes, might I one day go out and make out with someone that isn't my partner, because I don't get any of this at home.
Yeah, feeling fulfilled in that way. Yeah.
And so I never have, but it could have been a possibility, and a lot of people do that. And I think maybe for some of your listeners, it can explain some of the behavior they've had themselves, to know that, like, oh, why did I sleep with this person? Well, you're trying to have your needs met, probably.
And that's a good point to make, is that like almost everything that we do in our life is about trying to meet one of our needs, you know? Like I said, so the good behavior, as you mentioned, but also the negative behavior, right? You know, you're going to do stuff that might seem to be like it's self-destructive, but in fact, you're just trying to meet a need that hasn't been met in an aspect of your life or your relationship. And maybe you don't have the tools or capacity to learn how to actually actively, you know, communicate that to a partner if your needs are not getting met, right? We all hear the stories of, oh, he just wouldn't understand, or, you know, he doesn't listen to me. There's never a chance, or like we make all these stories in our head for why we can't communicate. But I think the underlying basis is we just don't really know how to do it without feeling some sort of awkwardness or misunderstanding between what we're trying to get across, right?
Yeah, and that's a really good exercise anyway, because it's not really within our control if our partner understands, or if they're going to use what we tell them the way we would love for them to use, but it is our responsibility to share our needs and to say what we would like and how we're feeling. And so even if they don't understand, say it anyway.
Yeah.
And once you've done that several times, you find out that you won't die, like nothing bad will happen, probably, if you say what you really need and what you want. Sometimes the worst that can happen is that they don't do anything, but they wouldn't have done anything if you didn't say it anyway. And so now you know.
You're no further backwards. You could only possibly move forwards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unfortunately, moving forward means not staying with the same partner, but that only opens the door to someday be with a partner or have a relationship that actually fills all of your needs.
Because the more, as you go through these different experiences, these different relationships, kind of get to know more and more and more of what you're looking for, you know, within yourself, but also what you're ready to also give to someone else, you know?
And as you say that, I also remember that one of the things that hasn't worked in our relationship is that we didn't grow at the same pace. I've grown personally a lot faster and worked with it a lot more than he has. And so we're not really in the same place anymore. We were in the same place when we met each other, but we're not in the same place anymore, because we just don't want the same things anymore, actually, from life. And I want deeper conversations, for example, and I've just grown a lot more as a person. There's just nothing to do about it, really. I cannot demand of him to grow more. It has to go at the pace that's natural to a person.
Yeah. And oftentimes people, like I said, will start here, but they grow and they go in different directions. And there's not it's not neither bad nor good. It's just reality. And sometimes we
Yeah.
hold on to things for longer than we should because we remember what it was like when we were here. And we always just try to
Hmm.
want to get back to here, but it's hard to get back
Hmm.
to here when we're already well over here, you know?
Yeah, but actually, I have a belief that we don't hold on to things longer than we should. Like we hold on to them for exactly as long as we need to. I mean, we let go at exactly the point where we're actually ready.
Of
So
course.
we couldn't have done it earlier. So the relationship I had before this partner, it was what's it called? Psychological terror and psychological abuse. That
Yeah.
was also 5 years. And and that's a long time to be in an abusive relationship, but I couldn't have left earlier. I wasn't ready.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh, I should have known. I should have left when I saw that first sign. Yeah, well, I couldn't. So I shouldn't have. And I needed to be broken down to the point I was broken down before I was on my own.
Totally. Yeah.
And I really do believe that life is happening for us and not to us. And so in that regard, we can't leave before we're actually supposed to leave and before we're ready.
Of course, yeah. And I guess what I was more trying to get at with my point wasn't that, leaving early. I think that, like I said, if we're growing in different directions, we still have love for this person. We're still holding on to something that we have built together, 5 years of stuff. So, like I said, we don't leave until we're ready, but we may be holding on to things that, like I said, when we look back, in a 2 years' time, we were like, that thing wasn't there for however
Yeah,
long period, right? It's
yeah,
been on for a while, and we're holding on to
yeah,
things
yeah.
because we want to make them work. We want to see if we can still be with someone that we've put 5 years into. We have a child with, like factors like that
Mhm,
change life for you, right?
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And talk
I'm
about
with you.
you've got a little one, right? And so
Yeah.
like how did that all come to be? And like, what like has it been more noticeable since you had your little one that things weren't you like all the needs weren't being met, or had it been going on for a while and just like now, life changed for you, so it causes you to make some other changes?
Um, no, actually, the reason why we broke when we did is is deeper and more complicated than just the relationship didn't fill needs.
Of course.
Um, so we just had some conversations and some things. I found out some things where I was like, for example, the fact that I have been continually working on my personal development, and he's been talking about it just as much as me. But then apparently he stopped. Like he talked about it, but he didn't actually do it when we had time to each other, which for me, I just thought, because that's my worldview, of course he's sitting down with it. Of course he's thinking about it. Of course he's changing some behavior, because I would do that, right? So,
Mm,
but he didn't. He didn't. And then he sort of discovered as well, which is really good for him, and it's going to be amazing for our son also that he's going to work on this, but that he's never really taken in and found out what his opinion about stuff is. He's always sort of just followed along and tried to fit in.
I see.
And that could be because of a big need for love and connection, as we're talking about human needs, and a big need for certainty. And he has a very big need for certainty compared to me. And so to fill those needs, he's just continually tried to fit in his entire life. And turns out he did that with me as well, without knowing it. It wasn't conscious. But as we both found out, I was like, wait, then I don't know you at all. And
Mm,
then do you know what I mean? I felt like I didn't know him at all because suddenly if he didn't know himself at all, of course I didn't. Some of the things he really said yes to and went along with that I suggested was mostly just to go along and not because he really wanted to.
mm. Isn't it
And so
interesting?
that means,
Yeah,
yeah, the future basis of the relationship was just kind of, it broke some trust for me.
I see. Yeah, because I have this belief that, that we never really know somebody else. fully, right?
Mm.
We only know the
Yeah,
version of them that we allow ourselves to see, or they allow us to see as well.
yeah.
And as we know from our own self, we are way more complex than what other people can see of us, like our thoughts, our feelings, all the stuff that's actually going on outside of just here. To then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
realize that you don't know the person that you're with because they don't know them. That can come as
Mm-hmm.
a huge kind of massive shock to the system as well, you know?
Yeah. And so that on top of the fact that my emotional needs aren't being met, and the man that I really want is maybe not actually the man that he wants to be. And
Mm,
so I want to say there's nothing wrong with him and there's nothing wrong with me. We just don't really fit together. Like we're the wrong puzzle pieces to go together because we don't want to give the thing mostly that the other person actually really needs, and we don't want to receive the things that the other person really want to give. And I'm not looking for what he probably really is, and he doesn't even know yet what that is.
and it's interesting,
I
as you
think,
said before, that your two core human needs were uncertainty and significance, and his are certainty and love and connection. That could come across as, you could easily look at that and go, there could be some conflicts there in how you see the world and what you're searching for and longing for from a partner as well, when you have those kinds of conflicting needs, right?
yeah, yeah, and it can, and it is possible to also make it work in a relationship, or that it just naturally works. And so for him, for example, should he want to fill my need for uncertainty, he can do it in a way that fills his own need for certainty and love and connection. Does it make sense?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
he can fill my needs as well as his own at the same time without a conflict, as long as he wants to fill my need at the same time as his own. And so I feel I have been doing that, and of course not to the extent that I could have, but to the extent that maybe I had energy to, and whatever, to make sure that his need for certainty was met, and to make sure that his need for love and connection was met. And he also has a big significance need, so that's probably the one I could have filled more for him.
Yeah.
The significance need, actually.
Making him feel more significant as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably the one that, because I crave to feel it so much myself.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, like, yeah, you craved it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
your, I guess, maybe lack of receiving it maybe held you back from giving it as well.
yeah, maybe. And also it can be a way of trying to fill my own need for significance, to not give it to him, because if he's
That's
the
what
most
I was
significant
going to
one in
say.
the
Like,
relationship, then I'm not,
you're trying to find something as well. Yeah, yeah, to meet
Yeah,
yours unconsciously
yeah,
as well, right?
yeah, exactly. And
Mm,
so coming out of a relationship and at some point going into a relationship, that can be really gold to look at and find out and say, okay, so me not filling his significance need because I want to be significant that's not cool. I mean, that's not okay, really. Of course, I can find a way to fill his need, as well as I can find a way to fill my need and communicate my need to him, so that if he wants to, he can fill my need. Because
yeah,
we can always have a conversation with our partners about these needs, but we can't demand that they fill them. We can just express our needs.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can only ever have a conversation from your perspective and try to get to know more about your partner through those conversations as well, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and trying to control that he actually fills my needs, which I'm sure I have at some point. That's just not beneficial in a relationship. And definitely if we just shortly throw in the feminine and masculine energy thing, which is of course both in straight and gay relationships, we have this balance of feminine and masculine energy, and trying to control is a masculine energy and not in a healthy way. But that's not good to do to a man who wants to be in masculine energy.
Yeah.
And I definitely have been doing that, which then forced him to step down and take more of the feminine energy kind of role, which then forced me to step up and do even more masculine energy. And I'm not attracted by the feminine energy. I'm attracted by the masculine energy, and then polarity is gone.
And you were living in it. So yeah, you were deterring him from getting close to you because you were kind of, I guess, well, the relationship went that way. It caused that polarity completely to shift in a direction that wasn't healthy for you and your relationship, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Interesting, isn't it? All of the different factors that come into play.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's several things.
Yeah.
Because we're
And so you
complicated.
mentioned obviously that you help so many of your clients, and you know you talk about the emotional needs with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about, you know, what do people come to you with, and how does the conversation about their emotional needs like open their eyes to make changes? Because I'm sure listeners out there want to hear about like, okay, what can I do to make some change in my life?
Mm-hmm. The only thing I talk about at first with them is how they are feeling their own needs and how they are sort of designing their life in a way that will fill their needs. And so, for example, recently I talked to a client. He has a big need for significance. And I asked him, well, what makes you feel significance? And is if someone praises him. And so I said, okay, does your wife praise you enough in like if we I'm lacking a word, like does she praise you as much as you would want to? And he's like, actually no. Okay, if you talk to her about it, do you think, because they have both worked with personal development for a long time, so, and people who come to me have worked with personal development before, and so I know that they can talk about it at home, and he can say, you know what, I would really love if you would give me praise more often, even if it's the same time, if it's the same thing at the same time every time, just keep the praise coming. And he can express his need in that way, and she will probably do it because that's the kind of relationship that they have. And so that's how he can take responsibility to fill his need of significance more, to ask for more praise.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So that's just an example. And also for me personally, the way I work with it is I have a big need for uncertainty. So I have to make sure that I have different exciting things coming up in my life and in my calendar so that I plan for it. So sometimes it can be not having any plans at all, and that can fill a need for uncertainty and just going with whatever comes up. But also it can be next time I want to go next week I want to go kayaking. And soon I want to go out and have drinks with some friends. Who can I ask?
Yeah.
Where probably earlier in my life, I would have waited for someone to ask me to go out so I could go out dancing because I really love going out and dancing.
Yeah. But now you're, you know, evolved enough to do the asking, to say, hey, I want this in my life, I am going to create that for myself, right, instead of waiting for it to happen. Because a lot of times, as you said, people will do wait around for things to happen in their own lives, which I guess you can look at as being a need for variety, but it also can be an issue in the sense of like, you know, stepping back into like just like following instead of creating yourself your own life, you know. So how would you differentiate that, and I guess help someone who's maybe listening going, that sounds a bit like me. I'm more of the someone who likes uncertainty, but I'm not going and planning things myself. I'm just letting things happen, but maybe they're not happening the way that I want them to actually happen.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to start with something that is easier for you.
Yeah.
So if asking people, say, hey, do you want to go out dancing with me and have drinks one day? That can be a really, really big step for some people. And if it is, it's just an example, right? It could be anything. And if it is, start with something that's easier. So if it's easier to make sure that you get food from somewhere that you've never eaten food before, that you've been wanting to try or something, and you just order it for yourself one day, if that's a little bit easier way to start, do that.
Yeah.
And so start somewhere where it's easy. It's just slightly out of the comfort zone, not a big step out. And when you've done that a couple of times, then you become more comfortable with it, and you can do bigger and bigger steps. So it's finding out, ask yourself the question, hey, what would make me feel certain or uncertain? What kind of excitement am I lacking in my life? Or what kind of certainty am I lacking in my life? What would I like more of? And then, okay, good. What can I do?
What can I do?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's good advice. What can I do? How can I take back some of the power of my life to make those decisions instead of like letting things happen to me and not necessarily being so happy with the result that comes, but wanting to step up and take some charge in my own life as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the dance that come after it. It's like, okay, so I got food from that place. It was good or it was terrible, but it didn't really do it for me. Like, it didn't actually give me enough of that uncertainty. Okay, good. So what have I learned, and what can I do different the next time? So it's important to not be bummed out if it doesn't give you what you hope it will, but then use that experience to find out what could be better then, what could work then.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Okay, then. So I know we've talked mostly about the four core ones, and we mentioned the other two, contribution and growth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever see these two in conflict with another? Like, can someone be in conflict with those areas? And how does someone, I guess, emotionally meet their needs, or in both healthy ways and unhealthy ways, for contribution and growth? And it's a long question, so it's okay if you...
Yeah, it was several. Let me answer the last one first. So I'm not sure that these two, I've never seen can truly be met with negative behavior or destructive behavior. I have not seen that. So some people might contribute in order to fill their need for significance.
Yes.
So you can give to charity, and you can make a Facebook post about it, or you can so and so. But the reason why you're doing it is really for other people to see that you're doing it. Then it isn't the need for contribution that you're filling. Then it's the need for significance or love and connection.
Yes.
And so I think that when we truly seek to fill the need for growth and contribution, we are at a state, like we've grown to a state where we only seek to fill it in a positive way. Would you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's what I was hoping that you would get to with that, because that was kind of where I was trying to see.
Yeah. And so I don't think that they can be in conflict with each other either, because it doesn't happen. We don't truly seek to fill them until we are at a certain level of our own growth or our own development. And when we're at that point, we don't conflict with ourselves in the same way that we can earlier on in our development.
Yeah.
And so I just think they go together beautifully.
I do feel
contributing is a part of my growth, and growing is a part of me contributing. It will allow me to contribute more to humanity or to planet Earth, or however you want to contribute.
Definitely, I agree with you. If you're truly coming from and to fulfilling the need for growth and for contribution separately, I feel that there's a part of both of them in there anyway, right?
Yeah. Which is not necessarily true for the first four basic needs.
No, it's definitely not. They're basic needs there. Like I said, as we evolve and grow, some of them we don't need as much anymore when we're, like I said, at a certain level, right? We don't need to we don't always necessarily need to feel significance from, because I also believe that within each one, there's levels, right? You've got lower levels of significance to higher levels of significance to what they mean. Same with certainty to uncertainty and love and connection, right? And some of the things that we do in order to meet those needs come from like that lower level version of ourselves. And as we evolve, we would never do some of the things that we did down here to try to meet some of those needs, because in some other ways we may know that we're meeting our needs successfully. So we're no longer needing to feel significant from groups of other people, right? We're giving our significance to ourselves by like the contribution. I know that by contributing, I'm feeling significant in that, but I'm not doing it for the significance. So it does shift as you said, as we actually get there as well. We're meeting the need unconsciously by doing something here, whereas, as you said, the example before, we're kind of consciously meeting significance by telling everyone that we're doing, giving to charity, right? It's not like we are contributing, but it's not from the need of contribution. It's from the need of significance, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also, I think that's a really good point, that you cannot look at a behavior and say, oh, she's feeling that need, because you need to know what's going on behind, and you need to know what's going on in the body to know which need they're trying to fill. For example, I have a friend and colleague who's also a coach, and she has a huge need for love and connection. And we could do the exact same behavior, but she's doing it to full love and connection, and I'm doing it to full significance. And at other places, we could have the exact same behavior, and she's doing it to feel certain, and I'm doing it to feel uncertain. So we can't really look at a behavior and analyze other people's needs. We need to know what's going on inside and which emotion is driving it, and why are they doing it, what are they hoping to accomplish with it on a deeper level. I think that's really interesting, because some of the things you can, for example, personality types is something that I've worked a lot with, and you can say, oh, that's yellow personality traits coming across right there. But you can't do that with the emotional needs, because you need to know what's going on inside.
Yeah, that can be, well, they're almost just as complex as we are, right? Like, because deep down behind everything, there's our intentions and our reasons for it. And the action is never not like the action doesn't define us. It's our reasoning behind the action that really does, So sometimes people will say, "Oh, you are your behavior," but you're the person behind the behavior. Like that behavior was done for a reason, not like done randomly often,
Yeah. And so also this is one reason why we cannot know our partner's needs unless we talk to them about it. And unless we're curious and open and generally want to know what are their needs. And so I've written down a couple of ways to really use the personal needs. And first one is to find out which are your own needs, and then how can I meet my own needs. But then having a conversation with your partner, and that's about two, if you're in a relationship, and then future relationship if you're not in one right now. And then the conversation with the partner has two reasons. And one is to converse, to let the partner know your needs. And one is to truly understand his or her needs, so that you can seek to fill their needs. And as we do that, we cannot do it and at the same time hold an expectation that they will fill ours. We need to do it without expectations and truly just do it because we want to do it. Because expecting our partner to do a lot of things for us leads to resentment when they don't.
And we could spend a whole nother hour talking about expectations, because that's a completely deep, huge topic. Because we all, of course, have expectations, especially when it comes to people in our relationships. But yeah, and that's often where some of the problems come to when it comes to feeling like someone should be meeting your needs in a certain way. You have an expectation as to you want your needs met, and your partner should be meeting them for you. And that's why I think, it'd be great for us to before we leave, talk about how can people best support themselves in fulfilling their own needs, so that they're not necessarily seeking it from a partner. Even, of course, we want to find partners who are going to do it, but like, how can people best support, fulfilling their own needs?
I think it's really just the way I would go about it is, which are my two core needs, as you said earlier. So usually it will be either certainty or uncertainty. That's one of the core needs. And then love and connection and significance, then one of them is the other core need.
Yes.
It's usually like that, right? And so my core needs at the moment are uncertainty, and actually I'm a little bit between, is it significance or love and connection anymore? I'm not quite sure. But if I would just play with it and say it's significance, it's said, okay, good. So let's do uncertainty first. How can I meet my need for uncertainty in a way that isn't being met right now?
It's healthy.
What can I do to make sure that is being met? Or what can I continue to do that I'm already doing that is filling this need? What has to stay in my life? And then also sort of make a list with the other one, and then practice doing some of the things on the lists. Not demanding of ourselves that we have to do all of them, but just practice doing some of them. And once we've done that for a certain period of time, it becomes more natural, and it's sort of at the back of our head always. And but I'm a fan of the list, and then calling it practice.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And I would even just add a little bit more onto that. Is like going back, taking a step back and going, how have I been meeting those needs in the past as well? And have they been working for me and not working for me? Because oftentimes when we can take a look back and say, hey, I actually have tried these things, but I've allowed other things to get in the way, or I've been trying them and they've really been unhealthy, or I've been trying them and they're working, that can help you to create those lists of things as well to move forward. So you can go, okay, actually, I'm already doing some of these things. I just need to recognize that I am doing it and allow myself to do that more as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also sometimes we can consciously look at a thing and say, okay, that's really fulfilling my need. And then we can actually fill it more without doing anything other than just looking at behavior we're already doing and looking, say, hey, does this also fill my need for love and connection at the same time as it filling this need? Because things can fill several needs at the same time, right? And sometimes we can just look at it and change the way we look at it so that it fills some of our needs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So can I ask you a question?
You can certainly ask me a question.
Okay, so if you were to, going forward from our conversation today, if you were to focus on one of these 4 core needs that you could meet a little bit more for yourself in your own life, what would it be?
If I could meet a little more out of the 4, which we're talking about: certainty, uncertainty, significance, and love and connection.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say that it would be in the certainty category. Okay. I feel that over the past, say, 3 or 4 years, I've gone really deep into my own growth there. And with growth can come a lot of uncertainty, which has been amazing because I, of course, been feeling that need, but it can also come with a lot of the lack of the certainty that maybe is sometimes important and crucial for you to kind of get some stability in your life in certain areas. So, I think I meet certainty in a lot of ways, but there are some ways that I feel like I would love to really improve upon that. And that probably would be just like consistency in how things are going with the ups and downs of life. Sometimes I feel like it can be a zigzag, which I'm sure, a lot of people can relate to that. But yeah, I would focus on uncertainty for sure as being my priority.
Could you say like one small thing or a big thing that you can do that will fill your need of certainty?
One small thing or big thing that I can do that's going to meet my need for certainty. That's a good question. What could I do that would something small that would meet a need for certainty? I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I'm going to have to get back to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little reflecting, right, to find out.
And for all of you listening out there, I'll share it in the comments. So when I come up with it, so if you've gotten this far, you're listening to us out there, I will come back to Julie, and I'll also share it with all of you guys as well. And any questions that you have for me or Julie, feel free to ask us in the comments below. Like I said, we're on YouTube, we're on all the platforms here. I see the questions. So if Julie hasn't seen them, I'll pass them on to her as well. Or Julie, share with us, how can people find you? How can people connect with you? How can people get to know more about you and what you're doing out there?
So it's mostly on Facebook that I am active, on my private Facebook, which is open, like you can see everything. And I'm not super active at the moment because I'm focusing on myself a lot. And so, but mostly Facebook. And then I really want to do a lot of YouTube as well, actually. And then I have a small TikTok account. So far small, but then I also use TikTok. And my TikTok is called A Love for Growing. And I'm sharing my journey towards becoming really happy again after being in a relationship that sort of, I found out, you know what, I'm not happy anymore. And so I'm sharing my journey there. And then my Facebook is just Julie Schytte.
Beautiful.
And not a lot of people call that, so
I'll link it, and I'll link a link to your Facebook in the comments below for anyone, so it's easier for everybody to find you there as well.
good. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming today, Julie. It's been a wonderful conversation about the emotional needs. You explained it very thoroughly, and I'm sure all of the people listening out there can probably have a bit of a deeper understanding of what they can do to focus on the next journey of meeting their emotional needs.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. It filled all of my needs to come to as a guest to the podcast, so that's amazing. So yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. And for everyone else out there, like I said, questions, comments, shares, you can reach out to either one of us or comment below, and we'll be back here next week with another episode. So until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now.